So we're here today with
Hi.
Kim and Mary and Sheila. These three are regular customers, repeat customers with Get Out There Tours and Travel. Kim's been traveling with us the longest, and Mary and Sheila are about the same number of trips.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll introduce each one of you individually because I want to get started. But what I want to do is talk to these regulars and kind of get an idea of what they like about the company and what works and what makes us different from others. First, I want to tell you a little bit about us. So my vision started actually with a partner of mine back in 2006, something like that, approximately. We came up with the name Get Out There Tours, and which is now evolved to Get Out There Tours and Travel. And we had the idea. We came up with a small little business plan. We went off to travel we flew into Kuala Lumpur and we traveled overland all the way up and flew out of Hanoi. So we went all through Southeast Asia. Along the way, we made appointments with a company called Buffalo Tours in Vietnam, and which is where in Hanoi, where we ended. And by the time we got there, our head was full of ideas, and the partnership didn't work out. However, the idea remained. You know, my history is of marketing with STA Travel, the world's largest student travel organization. So I still have a lot of company contacts from those days. In fact, a new insurance company that I'm working with, one of the people there remembered my name. So I've been in the industry for a really long time. Get Out There Tours finally came into fruition in 2017 when we did our first Serenity and Siam trip. And we're getting ready to travel on Serenity and Siam number 6. So I'm super excited that it's a successful product. And I'm hoping to expand the products besides Bali and Thailand. We're going to do Cambodia next year, and then Costa Rica, and Belize is in the plans for November 2024. So I just want to we're going to talk about 3 different topics of the company. And first we're going to talk with Kim, who has a good overview, and she's been on 4 tours, I believe, or is getting ready to go on her 4th tour. And she has a good idea of
I've done 4, and then 180 days I'll do my 5th.
Awesome. And she kind of knows how my little brain works, so she sees the behind the scenes. And also I just want to mention that I do have some benchmark companies that kind of help me make this company the way I want it to be. And one of them is Intrepid Travel. They're our partners most of the time in Southeast Asia, not Bali, but the rest of Southeast Asia. And we're very aligned as far as responsibility, sustainability, and cultural experience. So they're one company. The way that I teach my travelers how to prepare before they go is all like Rick Steves, like how to pack. That's all Rick Steves, because he was the first with the packing videos. A person that worked for him, she now has a company called Adventures with Sarah. She prepares her customers for trips like I do. So this all just didn't come in my head. It came from somewhere. So anyway, Kim, so going back to your first trip and then your last trip with me, have you seen me evolve, or the company evolve, or how did you evolve as a traveler, and give us some kind of experiences that you've had?
Thanks, Laura. I've seen all 3 evolve, and it's an honor to witness your growth as a business owner, and also the tours you've learned what people really like, and a pace that they can digest so much because you deliver so much to so many. And what I love about Get Out There Tours is you're preparing someone who is a global traveler, or you could be preparing someone who's never left the state of California, from how to pack and what to prepare for, and not just what to prepare for them, but how to be respectful of the place that they're going, culturally, what types of clothes to wear to enter into a temple, or what to bring if we're going to go offer an offering to a monk and what that would look like, or to think of the people we'll meet and to bring gifts with us because we're going to underprivileged nations. I remember my first trip with you, and some of the items on my shopping list, I was like, I don't understand why I'm buying my own set of utensils. Are they not going to have utensils? Or you said no one-time use plastics, and bring your own shopping bags, and bring a collapsible backpack in case you go shopping and you need extra bags, because I'm a bag lady. And those things started me thinking about the items I can take with me to support my belief that we can be a world without single-use plastics, or that I care about my ocean and where all of these items end up, or that I care about the environment. And for that, I'm grateful, because you prepare us in a way that it's not just, you know, you need 5 pairs of underwear and 4 t-shirts and a bathing suit. Like, you prepare us to have the best experience. And from that, and from traveling with you multiple times, I've not only evolved myself as a traveler and a global citizen, but you've learned how to package the information in separate Zoom calls with separate topics so that travelers can come to a Zoom call for the topics they feel they need support in, or they can skip a Zoom call if they don't think they need help with packing. So I've watched you listen to your clients and listen to your partners, and learn, and then we get the benefit of all of that. Like, I'm sure when you tell people you're going to an outer island, you need a 20-pound duffel bag, and someone shows up with a 90-pound cargo trunk, that your partners might actually complain a little. What I love about it most, and I believe you just said it a few minutes ago, is that we don't let people know the scarce, it's sacred to be with like-minded people that share the same value that I share, which is spiritual consciousness and sober living and exploration. Because I want to get out there tours, and I want to explore the whole world, and I want to do it in a way that I don't jeopardize my safety or my physical sobriety. So I appreciate that far more than I think you're aware, that you've given me that opportunity to go somewhere and know that I'm going to be safe.
Awesome.
Wherever.
There's no greater joy than not having to worry about a traveler. Like the first time Sheila came, I was so much more worried about her than on this last trip with her. For just using you as an example, but because we'll talk about in a second, but Sheila has different interests than, you know, someone like maybe more, she wants to be more physically active. And I remember on that first trip that she came on, the local guide, Ole from Intrepid, like took her, I believe took you jogging, right? Or showed you a route. But so Kim, like, what would you say to somebody who was thinking about joining one of the trips and saying, oh yeah, F no, I'm not going on a group trip. There is no way. I mean, what would you say to them?
I would say, because I'm one of your actual travelers that had a lot of anticipation and trepidation about that. I need time alone, and I need quiet time to fuel, and then I need my introverted time to be an extrovert. And I was nervous about it. And I remember being on the trip. I was sitting next to, I think, Carol Coleman. I was in love with her, and I'd never met her before. And she's telling me her story. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel my soul being filled by someone that was a complete stranger to me at the John Wayne Airport, or at the LAX airport. And what I like about these tours is, one, we all have our own sleeping areas, whether you're single or you're double, you get your own time alone. Two, you can put your headphones on, listen to a podcast in the air-conditioned vans as we go place to place to get your own introspective time. And three, I've watched Sheila now for a couple of tours, and I know that I can say, hey, I'm skipping breakfast. I'll meet up with you guys when the when the van gets here at 11. I'm going to go off on my own. So I think people are worried about too much time together or drama or, needing to give up your agenda for a group agenda. And I think what's really interesting about how you work these is that you can do both the group agenda and an individual agenda.
Yeah, I'm really blessed to work with partners that, so as far as my itineraries, I create the itineraries and I send them to Intrepid Travel's destination management group, or destination management company. It's called DMC, and they create all the logistics behind my itinerary. So I build in now. I'm learning to build in time for, I call them deviations, but I would love to come up with another name than that too. Something like, I don't know, something like a crossroads or something. I'll have to think about that. But so I'm really blessed that they are flexible with that, and they actually compliment me on that idea. And they're not like, well, no, this is how we do it with other tour groups. They accept me as an individual. I'm not like other tour groups, and I appreciate it so much. So have I left out anything, Kim, that you want to add?
No, I want to invite people because you know that the three of us are referral machines for you. I let people know that they need to be upfront with you and let you know if you want extra attention, minimal attention, and to approach all the information that you lay out for everybody like they would a salad bar. Take what they like, leave the rest. That you're delivering content to a wide range of people. I think about how I would deliver a message to a new sober person versus talk to someone with time, and you've learned how to help people that could be freaking out, like, oh my God, I am leaving my zip code, to somebody, like Sheila, who isn't even in her home zip code, 6 months out of a year. So that's what I would say to someone, like, just to communicate with you what they need and what level of attention they need, because this isn't Intrepid Travel. This is a small family-run business where you customize things for each type of personality, and no one would get that if they just called American Express Travel right now. They would not get your care. They would not get customization. They certainly wouldn't get a sober group with a sober leader, right?
Yeah. I like the salad bar because, I think of it as like on currently for the trip coming up, I've got some people who don't want even a tomato on their salad. And then I have people who want like jicama and mango and blueberries and, like all crazy things. So, and that's okay. It's still going to be a wonderful salad, right? So let's talk a little bit, since I started talking about the deviation, so to speak. So like Sheila, like, were you nervous the first time, or were you just along for the ride because Mary and Kim were going, and then you realized, oh no, like this is way too much like downtime. I don't want to go to that cooking class. So can you talk a little bit on those points?
Oh, absolutely. So thanks for asking me to be here. And my experience traveling with you, Laura, has been amazing. And I've had an opportunity to get to travel a lot over, my lifetime. And some of it has been on my own. Some of it has been, with groups. And I was very cautious about that first trip. I definitely had my reservations, many of them, being on a group trip with a lot of women. And there was one man on the trip, that very first one, that was amazing in 2019. But I'm going to be honest, I was very cautious. I trust and love Mary and Kim, but I still had a lot of reservations. And the wonderful thing about the trip is I got to be there in the moment with like-minded people. And not only did I feel safe traveling to, Asia with you, But I got to experience it with like-minded people. And so they weren't random people that I was grouped with, from, whatever random population. And I got to meet people and like Kim was saying, learn people's stories and really get a deeper connection, not only with the travel, environmentally, safety, being a responsible traveler, for the environment, and being a good example, but also building, lifelong friendships. And so I never anticipated that. I was also very concerned and cautious about, I have very particular eating and I like to be active. And there were certain things that I didn't want to do. And so when we got on the trip, I was uncomfortable thinking about saying I don't want to do certain things. And I found that the more that I was just transparent and honest, I know that you were a little concerned in the beginning, but then as you got a little bit more comfortable that I was a responsible traveler also, that you didn't worry so much. And that actually helped me also. And when you're traveling in other countries and their idea of like going for a run and my idea are very different, very, very different. And they don't really get it. And I understand. So I still communicated with Oli and he helped me as best as he could. And I found ways around being active that worked for me that were safe. And then also, it's not my first time traveling, so I take some responsibility and agency on my part to be prepared. So not only is that with the food and certain things I might pack and bring with me, which I could share with other travelers down the road that are interested, so I can meet my dietary restrictions, but also even the physical exercise and things that I pack with me if I have to make it work in a tiny hotel room where we couldn't get out and really move our bodies that day. I could find ways to figure it out. But I do have to say that 2019 trip was amazing. And I got to do some things on my own and with the group. And it was a perfect combination. This last trip that I took with my husband and you and your group to Bali, was next level. And again, I was a little nervous about some of the things I wanted to go off on my own, like the diving. And the wonderful thing about you, Laura, is every time I would shoot you a text message and say, I want to stay on Nusa Penida an extra day and get in extra dives. And I'm thinking, you're going to text me back like, what? We have this whole thing planned. And you were always so accommodating. And you always came back with, let me see, I think we can make this work. And you know what? You did every time. And it was so amazing. The other thing was the sunrise volcanic hike. And, physically, that trip was very challenging, really, really challenging for many reasons. And it was so worth it. And I just can't tell you, one, I'll probably never go back and do that because I did it. And two, I will never forget that experience. So, and now I don't feel nervous or I don't have reservations traveling with you in the group because I know I can be reasonably forthcoming on what I want to do and what I don't want to do. And it's received very openly. And I feel safe and I'm excited about getting to travel with like-minded people and getting to explore this together. So I can't say enough, to the people who have reservations about group travel. I totally get it, but this is different. I've done group travel. This is absolutely different. And I'm excited for trips for the future, especially the one coming up in 180 days that we get to travel again together to Cambodia and Thailand. And I told Laura, okay, I'm almost done. I told Laura, like, I wanted to go to the national park in Cambodia and I want to go for a run. And she researched it and came back and they said, well, it's not really safe to do that in the national park because there still are some undetected mines. And I'm like, okay, so tell me what I can do, you know, and I trust her and the
Yeah.
people she's reaching out to, and I want to see everything I can and be active, but I don't want to be stupid. I want to be safe. And so I absolutely love that there's options. There's always, she always makes it work. So anyways, I think unless you have any other questions for me,
Well, I have a
that's what
comment
that's what I got.
that might involve to further comment by you. So what I love is that, because I'm not who I used to be anymore, and I love that things that I wanted to do and probably won't get to do in my lifetime, like I probably will never climb Kilimanjaro, but anyway, everyone knows that was a big goal of mine. But also Mount Batu in Bali was a big goal of mine. And so now you've done it. And so I know about these places because they've been on my bucket list and I get to share them with people. Well, you know, we're both like born a couple days apart too. So sometimes I think, oh, this is an Aries activity.
Mhm.
So I really appreciate that. I have travelers like you too, that, but I also appreciate the Jonies because it's nice to, like, you know, because travelers who sometimes want to go slow, maybe Joni's not the best example, other travelers that might be older, no, not older, that just want to be able to have a shade tree sometimes. So I consider those travelers, and I consider travelers like you. And sometimes it is a deviation itinerary, but you know, luckily you're, you know, always up for the add-ons, you know, even if it's an additional cost. So yeah, I think it works well.
Sheila mentioned dietary restrictions, and I just wanted to throw in a snippet, which was the trip that Babby was on, and you created these plastic placards that people got to put, like, because she had severe food allergies. So you had like the no soy and the no chicken, and it gave me that idea that I think people need to hire someone with your level of experience to travel with at least once or twice in their life, even if they go back to being an individual traveler, because they can learn things that are that simple that could protect them in their future travels. Babby jokes around about needing her flashcards, even sometimes here in California, because people aren't understanding what she's asking for. And I said, you need the flashcards from Laura. We laugh about it, but those are things that we've learned how to take care of ourselves and how to communicate and still be true to ourselves, you know,
And
from you.
here's an example of how I evolve and change, and then sometimes need to revert back to. So I noticed that, like, either people forgot their cards, or, you know, now we can take pictures and have it on our phone. But so I'm like, oh, that was probably a little bit too much. So I didn't do it for the Bali trip because I'm like, oh my God, we're going to Bali. They know they have vegans there, all those nomad travelers, the digital nomad people. However, in Bali, it was even worse. Thailand's amazing with dietary restrictions compared to Bali. So, like, I mean, honestly, like, we would order vegetarian, and to them that meant that the dish had vegetables in it. You know, and I said to our driver, I go, do you know what vegetarian means or vegan means? And it's, oh yeah, and with chicken. So anyway, yeah, so next time we're going back to the flashcards, and that's cool that Babby remembers. I forgot about her. She had severe stuff. So, well, the next thing I want to talk about is, when I originally started the company, I wanted to do niche travel, which would be specialty travel for gay groups, expanding now to other, you know, other groups. And I wanted to do sober travel. And the more and more I thought about it and looked out there to other companies, there aren't a lot of sober companies. So I'm really focusing on that only now because, you know, we have gay travelers within our sober group. And I think it's a really important product to offer or service to offer travelers, because I know the very first one, people were like, I'm afraid to go to Asia. And which I think is silly because it's such a great, you know, simple place, at least where my trips have gone so far. However, people have different, reasons. So now we have sober group travel, sober individual travel. Mary, will you talk a little bit about the sober aspect of our trips? Start with
I
your
will.
first trip because when you signed up, you had just gotten back from Thailand. I'm like, I can't believe Mary O is coming. The famous Mary O. I don't even think I'd met you in person yet. So, and there you were, like, what, 6 months later, going, or at least planning to go back to Thailand.
Yeah. So thank you, Laura. I really appreciate the time that we're getting to communicate and honor our experience and the strength that you've given us to travel, and the hope that, we can continue to spread the word, spread the good news of our experiences and with you. And so I remember distinctly, Laura had posed the question about going to Thailand. Sheila kind of shared about it, and Kim and I were walking, and Kim was like, do you think that you would want to go back? And I had just went, and I had absolutely no desire to go to Thailand. Not one desire to go. And in 2019, I went twice. So it was definitely, I feel, a spiritual thing. It was like there was a pull that was causing me to go not once but twice. And I think pretty much for me, the thing about doing things sober is not just the experience to have open eyes, to receive everything and to give, but it's also, like Sheila shared and like, my friend Kim shared, the experience that we actually we have together. Like we will always remember, because we're sober, the experience that we got to have together. I remember walking into, and I'm gonna, kind of vacillate between the spiritual and the sober part of it, is that when we went to the reclining Buddha, and that the energy was so strong, like I almost like passed out. And I remember sharing that with you, and that you knew exactly what I was talking about. And as we've already shared, like-minded people. I don't know if I could have that experience with somebody that wasn't sober, to be able to share in that experience and communicate what I'm actually feeling. I know that we had a release of balloons, or the balloons, and there was many people that had come there carrying burdens that needed to be released. I don't think that we would have that experience together collectively, the unity that we have, the energy that we have with one another, that you're the forefront of allowing us to have that experience together. The fact that we could have meetings, we could have, two or more gathered. You and I had a meeting and an experience after our tattoos together, in behind a little tuk-tuk, or the red truck. We'll never forget that.
No.
And I think that, traveling sober, initially, anybody that's new in sobriety, or even anybody that's never traveled sober, to have this as an experience, as a way into being able to share their experience with each other. Like, like when I shared about some of my experiences in the temples with you, like all you did was grin and like knew heart to heart what I was feeling. And I know that I can share that with Kim, and I know that I have that forever memory with, my best friend Sheila, in our travels together. And so, like, sober is one thing, like-minded people is another thing, but then to have the spiritual experience with people that I love and I adore and I treasure and I trust. And I think, like when I hear other people sharing, when I hear Kim share her experience and Sheila share her experience, like you being at the helm and having that trust factor, like being able to be overwhelmed spiritually and be able to express with tears of gratitude or fear, tears of, um, you know, eye-opening experiences. I don't know where else to actually find that. And so I really appreciate the fact that you allow that. We had a beach meeting, sometimes we go to meetings when, this past trip with Bali, we went to a meeting. So, collectively we brought a different energy to a meeting, and then we get to share in that experience. It's a forever thing. I always share about the commodity of God, right? This great exchange that there's never a beginning or an end. And I know each time I travel with you, I will have that, not just with you, but with everybody on the trip, one way or another.
Right.
To see Christy, we don't say ride or die anymore. But
No.
ride or ride, but to see her conquer a fear of getting on a moped and just like wanting to do something outside of herself, and for us as sober people to encourage one another to step outside of what we know, a real program that works, right? So a program works not just in our little group and not just in our little city and not just in our little state, but around the globe, right? And so that's what you give us, fresh eyes to actually experience something through your eyes of what you have a vision for, and then that we can go ahead and be an active, sober participant in that. And I think it's so beautiful. I want to share that if you're thinking of it, just like kind of Sheila and obviously Kim shared, that at least give yourself the opportunity to experience it. And even if it's the takeaway of like, I've really downsized this last time, and I was so thankful that I did with my packing. I mean, you put restrictions in on this last trip that we did, not your trip, but a river trip. This one guy shared about what ifs get heavy. And I am a what if gal. Well, what if this happens? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? And you know what? Those get heavy. And so really trusting the process, like everything that I say, I live a sober way. And so a lot of what I've learned, the lessons that I've learned, even in traveling with you, have incorporated in my day-to-day life, just like I do sober. And so I really, I can't say enough about, I'm totally sold out with Get Out. I'm totally sold out with Get Out. And the reason why is because I've had that experience, and the experience that I've had, I've treasured. And not to say like, everything has always been perfect, because there's no perfect trip. I don't care what you're doing. There's delays, there's, the truck's hot, whatever, there's hiccups that happen. And but I do like the fact that not deviations, but like opting out, like if we want to opt out on something, that you give us that liberty to pick and choose what we want to participate in. And we all love the fact that Sheila chose to have an extra day experience with diving. Though I wanted her to be a part of it, like we got to live, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I feel I got to live through, Rick doing the videos of the fish, and like that was a part of what we got to be there. And a lot of my experience is witnessing, and I can only witness if I'm sober. I can't witness out of my mind because I'll be delusional. So that's the beautiful thing about and I also know that, you know, I have a lot of respect for the responsibility level that you have, because
Mhm.
you know, to say, hey, you know, that's probably not the best way, because, you know, and this is what you're up against, because you ultimately feel that burden of responsibility. And yet there's also a trust factor into to figuring out how can we make this work for
Mhm.
people's, you know, opting out of different things. So um, I really want to thank you, Laura, for your vision and sharing your vision with us, and then having us have the experiences. I remember Sheila getting all teary-eyed when we saw the elephants, like they were right there behind us. Like it was like, really, is this really happening? And I wouldn't be able to do it if I wasn't sober. I would be in my drunken state, hoping and wishing someday that I could experience the eye-opening experience that you've given us. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Mary. It's beautiful.
Abadico.
I do want to say that when I had the original idea for Get Out There Tours, the name has always been my idea. I was not sober, and it did not work out until I was sober. So, you know, that was a really, yeah, so you're right. Would not be happening would if it not were sobriety. So I just want to add a couple of things. You know, one is that I take my angels in heaven with me wherever I go, and my father is a big part of me having compassion for other cultures. And but when he was living, I didn't realize how much compassion he had. It wasn't until he died very young that I learned more about him. But I do know that he was a huge fan of Tennyson. In fact, yesterday I discovered another one of his books. As I purge some things, there's some things I will not let go of. But I believe it was Tennyson who said, and I find this very true in my life, is that I am a part of all that I have met. And I thank you all for, you know, your part in my life, and also for all the people that we encounter when we're traveling. So it's such a powerful sentence or phrase. And I do, you know, just want to mention, since we all loved Patty so much, and I know that her presence was definitely with us on the trip, well, where she fell ill. But I tell you, she is looking down from heaven, smiling so big that you three are here with me right now, and that we're going on Serenity and Siam 6. And I'm just tying it in with her because she would want me to say to everybody, what? Enjoy the journey. So,
Enjoy the journey for
enjoy
sure.
the journey. So
Yeah.
thank you all for being here. I'm going to stop recording now, and we can chat some more.